But that shifted because we found out that we weren't able to have children naturally. Now we need medical intervention. We stopped doing weddings because we needed to be home on the weekends for the children that we were fostering. Yes, we have the business, but the priority is our family. You having that child is not going to fix anything. Become a foster parent just for a bit.
We do it all. Rise up strong even when we fall. Dreams in our hands, love in our hearts. This is where the journey starts.
Welcome to Baby Bump and Business, the podcast for creative moms growing a baby and a brand at the same time. I'm your host, B. Chopra Wilson, photographer, educator, and first-time mom to be, sharing the real unfiltered journey of pregnancy, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. Each week, I'll be joined by a fellow creative mom to talk about the beauty, the burnout, and the balance of it all. So let's get into it. Today's guest is Sophia Barrett. Sophia Barrett is a portrait photographer that takes her art beyond just taking photos. Her passion for her craft originates from a personal battle with infertility. She uses her art as a vehicle to celebrate the strength, beauty, courage, vulnerability, and the love of her clients. Although she is well known for her work within the maternity realm, her portfolio includes motherhood, family, modern portraits, industry-related commercial work, and weddings. Her most prized role is as a mother to a budding artist in her own right and a loving wife to her wonderful, supportive husband, Derek. Hi, Sophie. How are you today? So
Good,
happy to be able to, good. So happy to be able to share this platform with you today.
I'm so to be here.
So, what inspired you first to get into the creative entrepreneurship space?
What first inspired me to be in the creative entrepreneur? Well, I would say that I don't think I was ever inspired. I think it was just something I always knew I was going to do from when I was a kid. Like it was, my parents knew it. Like everyone knew, like my cousins growing up, like Sophie's never going to work for anybody. Like Sophie's going to work for herself because Sophie's been making money in recess since she was in second grade. And and it was always going to be something creative because I don't do anything not creative. So I think it's just natural. It was a natural progression. It's always, even when I went to school for architecture and interior design, the goal was always I would have my own firm, right? So I'm so thankful that it's worked out the way that it has, but I always knew that I would be working for myself and I would always be doing something creative.
Beautiful. So, coming from an interior architectural background, what got you into photography? How did that transition happen?
So I love all types of art. I love everything art related. So photography was something that I liked even when I was a little kid. I used to like take my dad's old camera, his old Minolta, and take family photos, take pictures of, what's happening at church or whatever. If he couldn't find it, he knew it was under my bed, along with other tools and other things that I would take to make stuff. Um, so photography, I think, was a easy barrier to entry for me. When it came to working as an interior designer, I was working as an interior designer at IKEA, and that's where I met Derek. And that's kind of where we started this. So when I was there for my birthday one year, he bought me a DSLR. And it's because at the moment, that's what I was into. I was into, I want to take pictures. That's what I want for my birthday. So he got me a DSLR. He had to teach me how to use a DSLR. He didn't know how to use a DSLR, so he taught himself how to use a DSLR, then taught me. And then, because previously, I was just using film. Even when I was in school, I was using film cameras. He ended up getting into photography, and we both, you know, fell in love together with photography and started doing it together. We started doing weddings. But it wasn't until about 10 years ago now, 8 years ago, between 9 or 10 years ago, that I started doing the more creative portraiture.
And what created that transition? Was it the overload of doing weddings, or did something just bring in you like, I want to be more creative, I want to have a little bit more control? What created that change?
I think both of those things. So weddings are Weddings are awesome because when you are first getting into photography, weddings are a beautiful way to hone different skills, like different genres, right? Portraiture, family, uh, product photography, spaces and being able to photograph them well. So it's like real estate. Like you're having to do everything. So I liked it because I was learning a lot quickly, right? And we had a passion for what we were doing because we ended up like doing weddings because we hated our wedding photos and we hated the feeling that came from that. Like we didn't want other people to experience that, like not wanting to look at your wedding pictures, or when you look at your wedding pictures, you just see all the craziness that happened on that day. And we didn't want other people to experience that. So like weddings were awesome, but yeah, I didn't like not having control over the environment. I didn't like not having control over the amount of time that we got to shoot. I didn't like, just being dropped into a situation and then having to figure out how to make magic from that situation. While that can be an awesome thing in and of itself, and some photographers love that kind of an adrenaline rush, I like planning. I like knowing what I'm going into and doing. I love being able to sit down and conceptualizing something prior to and having a plan, having the client also knowing what that plan is so that there's no pushback, right? You guys are on the same page. So you're able to just create without any bad vibes. Everyone's on the same page. So that's what I love about being in the space on the day of a photo shoot. We all know what we're about to do. We're all on the same page. We've already had meetings discussing the concepts we're about to execute. Like that to me is a wonderful experience. And it's something that allows me to just be creative. It allows me to get in that bag and not worry about like craziness that might just happen, or this aunt came in and pissed off the bride and now I got to figure out how to make her stop crying and stuff. Like that isn't something that I have to deal with anymore. Mhm.
Listen,
Mhm.
I always say wedding photographers are y'all are rock stars. And I mean, I've been able to work a wedding with you, and I'm like, yeah, girl, this ain't for me. I was like,
Yeah.
that was cute, but it
Mhm.
takes a certain you have to be that person. Like you have to be that person to love it, not just love it, but be able to deal with everything that comes with it, dealing with the bridezillas, dealing with the families, dealing with all those different things. And I always say, I was like, I love studio work because I love the control. I
Yeah.
love knowing that I have control over almost everything that happens within that space.
Yep. Yeah.
And it sounds similar to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beau-
Weddings are beautiful. They are beautiful. And people can do them, more power to them. But
Beautiful.
studio for me.
So
Mhm.
when from transitioning from the business side, when you were transitioning from the wedding into the studio and doing more of like that portrait work, what did you have to change in terms of your business system in being able to manage that shift? Because when it comes to weddings, you're usually booking years in advance, but now that you're doing studio portraits, what did you have to adjust in order to make that transition smooth?
I think that I needed to put into so with the way that we do it now, right? And granted, there was a period of time where there was adjustments to our creative process. Mostly because, especially when we were doing this, when we first started doing this wasn't a process that I feel like was very common with like the type of portraiture that we do. I think that you have a lot more planning when you're thinking of like commercial photography and magazines and all of that. So you have, planning meetings where they have like these boards and whatever, but that wasn't something that I felt like people were really doing for the everyday person, right? Just somebody who wants really pretty portraits. So we had to put in a process of planning. And there was a lot of trial and error because we needed to figure out what worked for clients, what didn't work for clients, what helped clients feel like value, what helped them feel calm, help them to feel prepared when they came in. So there was a lot of trial and error in making sure that, like, hey, when they come in, they have the right bra, right? The kids all have their shoes, right? The hair was purchased that needed to be purchased. They prepared their skin or their nails the way they needed to prepare. And also when they're coming in, They are seeing something executed that we already had meetings. So I think that something that can prevent somebody from just being in their skin on the day of a photo shoot is the anxiety of, I don't know what I'm about to walk into. I don't know what I'm about to see. I'm showing up and I'm nervous. Clients are nervous regardless because it's a photo shoot. But there's another layer of anxiety that I'm very happy that we are able to remove from clients because there's so much back and forth before they walk in on the day of the photo shoot. So, with weddings, it was we just show up, there's a planner, there's somebody else handling all of that. We needed to put into our process something like that so it prevented people from, feeling anxious and allows them to just be comfortable and happy when they're in our space.
Beautiful. So, working with your spouse is not easy, right?
Mhm.
And then when it comes into now that you guys are planning on expanding your family, what was that journey like when it came to having the conversations of, okay, we work together, we're in business together, but now we want to expand our family. What are the preparations or the thought process that goes into that as entrepreneurs working together?
It's twofold, right? So at first, when you're thinking that you're going to be able to have children, you're thinking of maternity leave. You're thinking about, like, okay, we want to wait this much time before we start to have kids. We want to have our business at this point. At the time Derek was working a Home Depot corporate, he wanted to be at this position. Like, there's that kind of a conversation. And it was like, we want to be at a good place so that we can, like, I can go on maternity leave and I can stop working for a certain amount of time or whatever. But that shifted because we found out that we weren't able to have children naturally. So that process changed to us, just having children naturally the way that everyone else does, to, okay, now we need medical intervention. We're talking about IVF. So now we're talking about a large sum of money, possibly more than one time, right? So our whole everything shifted. We sold our home. We moved into another home with our family. Like, there were lots of things that shifted at that time. And then we once again found out that that wasn't the route. We had to go the route of foster care to adoption. So we stopped doing weddings because we needed to be home on the weekends for the children that we were fostering, right? So we had to stop. And it wasn't that we stopped doing weddings just because it wasn't something that I truly enjoyed. We stopped because it was a necessity, because we had to be here on the weekends. We had to be available to the children that we were taking care of. But that shifted because I was able to start incorporating more creative work. I was able to start doing more in studio work. Um, and the priority became, we need to be home. We need to be available to our family. So having a studio in our backyard became the priority, instead of having a studio that we're going to every day, making sure that when, they come home, we're home, right? We're not dropping them off on the weekends to another foster family, not really knowing how they're going to be taken care of while we're shooting a wedding, or while we have to go to Mexico or Puerto Rico or whatever to go shoot a wedding, or what have you. So we had to make sure that, like, yes, we have the business, but the priority is our family. And we have to make sure that the business works to support our family, right? So we're always walking that tightrope where the business is something that it's our baby, it's our passion. We are doing everything we can to make sure that it continues to move in a positive direction. But family, family time, right? Being available to family, that's always first. So everything business wise comes against that, right? And that's always going to be what we prioritize. I hope I answered your question.
You did, and you answered it beautifully. And I think that's something that I know a lot of women probably struggle with, thinking that now that they're about to go into motherhood or parenting or anything like that, that now the business has to be on the back burner versus knowing that you can transform your business in a way to where you're still able to show up and be the mother and be the person that you want to show up in as that role. And I think that you explained that beautifully. That's beautiful. So, what would you say to a woman who is going through probably fertility difficulties or anything like that? What advice would you give them that you've learned in this process that has helped you guys go from going through that entire process and now being able to have a beautiful daughter? What advice would you give them, especially as an entrepreneur going through that?
One, don't look at like our society, don't look at everyone and think that because your life doesn't look like somebody else's, that they have something amazing and you don't. Right? So I think that's the first thing. I think that when we romanticize the idea of being pregnant, romanticize the idea of having a child, we think that it's going to unlock this life or unlock, this connection, something that's missing or lacking. And I would really caution people to make sure that you love yourself, that you love you, that you are happy, that you feel blessed, that you're in a good place before you even, you know, go the route of having a child, wanting a child, because you having that child is not going to fix anything. It's not going to fix your life. It's not going to fix your marriage. It's not going to make your life more, worth something or whatever. You are now responsible for a human being. You are now responsible for, you know, making sure that that human being is an amazing human being, a responsible, caring human being. And I would also say that that journey to motherhood can look like so many different things. And for so many people, they feel the need to carry a child, have a child, they will spend crazy amounts of money, right? For like fertility treatments, IVF after IVF. Um, and I think that what you do should fit you, but at the same time, just fostering for a little bit and taking a break. That's something that I think that people should think about. Like take a break from all the fertility treatments, the hormones, from you crying every month because your cycles come and you're not pregnant, right? And you keep trying. Just foster, to become a foster parent. Just for a bit. Just do it. And I think that what ends up happening is that your priorities in life, as well as your ego, right? And the thought of needing to see yourself in a child, being able to see your resemblance or that child coming from you, you start to think about there are kids who are here right now who need love, who have nobody, who are being mistreated, who are being fostered by families who are taking advantage of them. And that is so common. It is so common. It's disgusting. It's horrible. So if you're someone who wants to nurture a life, there are lives that are here right now that need that. And just doing that for a little bit can help to change your perspective, give you peace even. So it's something that I tell people about. I'm not saying go adopt. I'm not saying adopt a child. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying take some time to love on a kid that's here, just so that your view on what it means to be a mother or a father, it just shifts a little bit to something that is more real.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. We just need to put you on a billboard. Like, preach! Where's the tissues? Just get the tissues.
Nonsense, nonsense. I'm gonna stay right here in my studio.
But that's but that just hearing that is so beautiful. So how would you say that this journey has impacted your work and impact what you create and how you create?
I think so. Before that experience, I was so obsessed with I need to be pregnant. I want a baby shower. I want to see my belly grow. I want to have a child. I was so focused on that, right? That even focusing on my clients and their stories and what they're going through and what they shared with me, I really did not I didn't pay attention all that much. Like I wasn't really focused on telling their stories. My brain was too busy. And I will, like, when you're in that season, I talk about the show Being Mary Jane because it is so accurate. Being Mary Jane, like Gabrielle Union was doing some crazy stuff on that show to get pregnant, right? Or she was acting in very hysterical ways, but somebody who doesn't experience what infertility feels like looks at that as like she was just acting crazy. But somebody who's experienced infertility looks at that as like, yep, like that's literally my brain. That is literally what I'm going through. It's what I'm thinking. It's how I feel. So when I did the foster caring, right, with Derek, and we started like these kids, and not just that, like seeing what some of these parents were doing to the kids. I don't want to talk about that because then I'll get emotional and it's just disgusting. Like some of the stuff that we saw, right? Um, it allowed me to step out of myself. It allowed me to get out of my head, right? Um, so much so that that's when I started like thinking about what my clients were telling me. That's what I started actually thinking about, like how we can take their stories and how we can, translate that to something that is visual, something that is artistic. And it's not just that, like I'm emotionally available to my clients, not every day, right? But when they're in the studio with me, they feel love pouring from us. They feel us like really like cheering them on, wanting to create something beautiful for you, right? And I wasn't in a mental place to do that until I got out of my head, right? Um that is like what the experience I feel like has done for me. It's allowed me to be more sensitive to others. It's allowed me to be more sensitive to what other people might be feeling. I think that infertility definitely did that. Like going through infertility, and for the clients that I get that like this is their fifth IVF attempt and they're pregnant and they waited and they don't want to tell anybody and they're scared, but they're excited. Like somebody who hasn't been through that may approach that the wrong way, may say the wrong things, right? But like I understand what they're thinking. I understand how they feel. So it's allowed me to be sensitive on different levels. So while like it's not something that I wish on anybody. I don't wish on anyone to be infertile, right? Or to not be able to have children naturally. But I think that I have invaluable experience that affects different people in different ways because of it.
I got goosebumps. I'm just over here trying not to be in my
No,
feelings and
don't
trying not
because
to
I
cry.
will. Don't, please don't. Don't cry. Don't do it. Don't do it, Brianna.
No, but I mean, from someone who's had the honor of being in front of your camera, I felt that, right? I felt seen, I felt loved, I felt heard, I felt vulnerable, and of course, it was a very a vulnerable experience. But like you said, like you guys show this level of love that you don't get everywhere. And I'm not on the client experience side, so to be able to be on that side and hear your journey and hear the inspiration behind it, I know what that feels like being a client of yours and being able to have that with you. So thank you for that. Y'all better y'all better book. I'm just saying, y'all better if y'all want experience. But I'm just so proud of you, and I'm just so grateful that you've been so honest and vulnerable about such a sensitive topic that I know a lot of women are probably going through. A lot of women probably are afraid to share or don't know how to share. And even entrepreneurs who may be trying to balance both of that, I know that they're going to be inspired and motivated by the things that you have said. Sophie, thank you for being so honest, for being so vulnerable, for sharing, for creating. I don't even know what else to say. I'm just
Thank you. And like this is an honor for me, like to see all of the growth and all the things that you're doing, how amazing, like to be on this podcast with you. It is an honor for me. So thank you so much, Bianca, my dear friend. I appreciate this.
Thank you, thank you. And listen, I know I'm again, I can't wait for people to hear this story because I know it's going to inspire and motivate so many women and even just help them think about just the way that they see life. Because I know that there's a lot of women who are struggling in different ways, or even just as entrepreneurs, just trying to balance it all. And to see the way that you've been able to balance it, but also the way that you've been able to make your family priority over business and still be able to succeed at both. I think that right there is something that we all can learn from. And I know for me, I'm personally inspired by. So again, Sophie, thank
Mhm.
you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me, Priyanka. I really
Um,
appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Baby Bump and Business. I hope today's conversation reminded you that you are not alone on this journey and that there's so much power in building something beautiful while becoming someone new. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate, review, or share it with another mama or creative who needs the encouragement. Your support helps this community grow and lets more stories like ours be heard. To stay connected and get updates on new episodes and real talk from creative moms like you, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Baby Bump and Business. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and give yourself all the grace that you deserve.